Are you a chimp? Do you have stories about chimps? I don't think so. So, how about we both watch True Stories About Chimps by Salmonella Academy? That sounds like a good deal, right? We learn about chimps and learn, I guess, some fun facts. Make sure to check out him down below. My name is Mistic, and let's get to watching.
Hey kids, so we all know that, as far as living things go, humans win, not even a contest. But it
I
turns out,
guess.
if you hop to the next genome over and look real carefully, you can actually see a basic version of a lot of the stuff that makes us so great. Here's some stories about what chimpanzees can get down to in the right context.
Okay.
Talking about chimp tails? Now, North Korea's Pyongyang Central Zoo has a colorful history, from its humble beginnings as literally just 50 badgers in a fence, to the parrot they taught to recite poetry praising Kim Il-sung, to being the only place in Pyongyang where you can look at a dog legally. It seems the only thing that's remained constant throughout this zoo's life is that it's fucking depressing.
Yeah.
Fortunately, both workers and animals alike found ways to cope, one of which is smoking. Azalea the chimp is currently 13 years old and is one of the shining stars of Pyongyang Zoo, purely for her ability to burn through over a pack a day. Now, I like a good old-fashioned smoking chimp as much as the next guy, but whereas most zookeepers would probably try to talk her out of something so unhealthy, the North Korean ones actually gave her supplies, just like, feeling trapped, welcome to the club, pal. Her skills are actually pretty impressive. Not only
I
can she
think
use a
the most I've ever seen someone smoke was like a pack or two a day. So that has to be bad for a chimp. That's insane.
later, but in a pinch, she also knows that old schoolyard trick of lighting one ciggy with the other. Just a shame
Ooh.
that her mind wasn't put towards something a little more healthy or productive.
Yeah.
Nah, you know what? That's pretty dope, actually. I'm happy with that. Flashback to 1954. A chimp named Congo was born in the London Zoo. Little did anybody
Congo.
know, this ape was a prodigy. Out of curiosity, one of his zookeepers, named Desmond Morris, decided to give Congo a pencil and a piece of cardboard to see what he'd do. Almost immediately, he started drawing some rudimentary lines and shapes. Morris was like,
Ooh.
whoa, and decided to let him try painting on for size. And what he saw was incredible. Congo created these beautiful renderings with a blend of realism and self-expression that would make even the
Oh.
great masters stare in awe. Nah, just fucking with you, they're garbage. But for a
Mm.
non-human, there's still something to be appreciated here. Congo had at least a very basic sense of composition. Like, you can see there's some balance to the images.
I
Matter
mean,
of
it
fact, when his
seems
handler
like
would make shapes
modern
on one side
art.
of the page,
So.
Congo would deliberately mark up the other side to maintain some kind of symmetry.
Hmm.
He also had an artist's sense of self-entitlement, because whenever his owner tried to take away a picture before Congo thought it was finished, he'd literally go apeshit, all throwing a fit and screaming till they gave it back. But hey, painting done by a chimp. You know who likes pointless novelties like that? The incredibly rich. In 2005, 3 of Congo's paintings were up for auction next to works by 2 obscure little artists known as Andy Warhol and Pierre-Auguste Renoir. And while the 2
Wonder who
actual
those
artist
are.
pieces went completely unsold, these 3 beauties got picked up for the scant price of over 25,000 US dollars. And the guy was like, wow, I felt something for a
I
second
could pay
there.
for
I really like the
college
watermark on this, by
with
the way.
that.
Like, this is my painting done by a chimp. Anyway, next we have this beast called Washo. Washo was the first non-human creature to learn to communicate through sign language. That's right, eat shit, Coco. Prior experiments in chimp communication had attempted to teach him some basic spoken language, but after realizing that chimps are
Yo.
physically incapable of
Yo.
making most of the noises we do, they decided signing would be the better option. Washo was raised in an environment similar to what a human child would experience, complete with toys, clothes, chores, and even being allowed to sit at the dinner table, in spite of
Ooh.
what the Bible clearly says about that. The scientists raising Washo made sure to only communicate in American Sign Language around her, in the hopes of establishing a true conversational rapport. Initially, they took a traditional Pavlovian approach by rewarding proper use of a new sign with food and tickles. But there were a couple problems with this. Firstly, the simple action reward setup meant that Washo didn't have to really understand the words she was signing, the same way a parrot saying I love you in a YouTube video always does it with those cold, unfeeling eyes. Secondly, Washo would break into a laughing fit whenever they tickled her, to the point where the lesson would be essentially over. So the researchers abandoned this and instead just let her learn through observation of her caretaker signing, with much better results even in the total absence of reward stimuli. And the only downside was that the job title of designated chimp tickler ceased to exist. In total,
Aww.
Washoe learned around 350 individual signs in ASL, and she'd even
I
use these to
know
formulate
0.
novel phrases for new objects. Like one time she wanted to talk about a thermos.
Apparently, when I was a kid, apparently I knew how to spell the letters, but I never like actually kept doing it, so I forgot. I also knew a little bit of Spanish in elementary school, but again, I didn't really use it, so I forgot. And then I learned some Japanese, and I've kind of forgotten that too because I don't use it. So I'm trying to learn those things again.
But didn't know what a thermos was. She goes, metal cup of drink. Hey, scat, scat! A similar
Oh,
story comes from a chimp named
was this
Lucy, who was
SpongeBob?
raised by one Dr. Maurice Temerlin and his wife, Jane. The tale of Lucy's life is why this woman is now officially the third most famous woman named Jane who worked with apes. In the
Oh.
same vein as Washoe, the pair attempted to gain some insight into Lucy's weird chimp noggin by raising her like you would a human. You know,
Mhm.
dressing herself, using silverware, making tea, looking at
Mhm.
magazines, pretending she knows what a word is, all that jazz. But as Lucy matured, things took an ugly turn. For one, since she was brought up in a basically human environment, she eventually discovered the time-tested human pastime of alcohol. The pair would leave
Oh.
bottles of gin around their home with Lucy, which I don't know how you'd make this mistake twice, but it
Yeah.
was apparently a common occurrence for them to leave her alone for too long and come back like, honey, I think the monkey's fucking wasted. Yeah. Another one of her hobbies was sculpting crude human heads out of poop. Her own poop, to be clear. They also left some copies of Playgirl magazine around for Lucy to flip through,
Oh.
which she became very fond of. So fond, in fact, that she was caught multiple times, having relations with the vacuum cleaner. I don't understand the mechanics of it, because no source I found ever went into detail, and believe me, I wanted to know as much as you do.
I
All I
don't
know is
think I
that,
want
all
to
things
know.
considered, some pretty exemplary tool use there. So the pair saw this and they were like, alright, we gotta get this chimp laid, and fast. But the problem was, Lucy was conversing with people, eating with people, flicking the old chimp bean to people. So it's not a
Mhm.
stretch to think that Lucy thought she was people. So imagine you're people, and you get thrown into an enclosure with a full-grown, horny male chimp. You'd have a fucking panic attack. And
Yeah.
that's just what Lucy did. As the years went on, Lucy got more and more violent, regularly trashing the place to get out the frustration of not being able to comprehend what was so fundamentally unnatural about her existence. Finally, the couple had had enough and decided to take Lucy to a primate rehabilitation center in the Gambia, with the hopes that she could be forced to acclimate to primate life. She could barely cope with it at first, getting real depressed and hardly
Mm.
associating with the other apes. Which you'd be depressed too if you had to give up a life of American luxury complete with booze and vacuum fornicating to go live with chimps in the wild. But with the
Mhm.
help of a graduate student named Janice, Lucy eventually came to accept her fate, and although she'd never mate with another of her kind, she ended up getting
Mm.
along with her troop well enough. About a year after leaving the rehab center, Janice came back to visit, and Lucy gave her a warm embrace before waddling back to the rest of the chimps.
Mm.
Aww. Then Lucy got poached like a fucking egg, which kinda puts a damper on the whole happy.
Another year later, Carter returned and found Lucy's corpse. She had been decapitated, and her hands had been hacked off. What the fuck?
Ending, but you know, whatever. So if there's one lesson to be gained from all this, it's that the best way to learn something is to be immersed in it and to make it part of you. While
Uh-huh.
treats are good for making dogs do backflips, true comprehension comes from integrating new things into your daily life. And what better way to do that than with some free audiobooks? Sponsor time. Listening to audiobooks inspires us, motivates us,
It's
even
been
brings us
5
closer.
years.
And
I
or
don't think
text
it's still
salmonella.
active, but there you go. I definitely need to immerse myself in some languages and just generally improve how I spend my day. that story, ah, the ending. Oh. Um, let me know what you think, or if you have any other chimp stories. Let me know down below. And until next time, bye bye.